Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, scheduling permitted, to address whatever topics you might like to discuss, whatever issues of life you find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. We are here for you to discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships, whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind. God is concerned about that which concerns you. So we are here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock. The water collects in a natural artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrewed the cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is truly Earth's finest water. And for those of you who continue giving on the give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast, we thank you for your support and your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here to address whatever topics you might like to discuss and whatever issues of life you find challenging or difficult to navigate right here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated you have some issues with your colleagues that you are not certain how to resolve. And you want to know, how can you get along with people who are hard to get along with? So let me begin by saying this. What you have in your business environment are personality conflicts, and it's with more than one person. And the reason is because you all have different personalities and you have different life experiences, and there are three of you, you and two others, who have very toxic personalities when it comes to dealing with one another. What you're going to learn to do is to leave your personality at home, your home personality. And you're going to learn to switch to your business personality when you are in the office. Now, I know we've been working from home, and so many of us, because we've been working from home, we are using our home personality and our business personality while we are on Zoom calls and while we're on conference calls and while we're emailing. There's a switch code. And the switch code is this. When you're at home, you can behave yourself, behave your own way. You can conduct yourself your own way. You can even discipline yourself by your own methods. But when you're dealing in a professional environment, you have to have the appropriate behavior. You have to conduct yourself with professionalism. And if you don't, your professional environment will discipline you. So what I want to encourage you to do is understand the switch code. Understand the difference between what's appropriate at home and what's appropriate when you're dealing with your business colleagues. Stop trying to merge your personalities together, that you feel it's okay to demonstrate your personality when you're in your professional environment. We can't do that. In our professional environment, we have to be professional. When you're in a personal environment, you can do whatever you choose to do personally, but I'm here to tell you the goal must be to become the best version of yourself that you can become. So it really isn't appropriate to just behave anyway in your personal life. We have to have some standards. We have to set some goals. We have to discipline ourselves. We have to have the appropriate behavior. We have to have the right attitude even at home. You certainly have to demonstrate it when you are in your professional environment. So I'm going to continue with this for a bit, and I just want to say the reason that I am looking at my phone right now is because there's a child abduction alert that came through my phone, and I'm going to ask that we will pray for the child even though we don't know her or him, and make certain that we pray for their safety and that they'll be found safe and without harm. So I want to say our personal behavior and our professional behavior. Think about the environment that we're in. If you don't clean your house gets dirty. And over time, people won't want to come and visit you. If you're in your professional environment and you don't clean up your mess, there's going to be a conflict with your colleagues. And I'm not just necessarily speaking about stacking papers on your desk. I'm talking about not meeting deadlines, not getting work completed, expecting someone else to pick up a workload that you should be responsible for. Eventually, they're going to usher you out the door. So we have to make certain that we're becoming the best version of ourselves at home and in the office. Okay, and so now you are returning to the office. So what you're going to find necessary is to leave your personal personality at home. The way you talk to your family and friends, you cannot communicate with your colleagues the same way. First of all, it's inappropriate. Second of all, it's unacceptable. So you can't continue bringing your personal attitude and personal behavior into the office with you. So let's make certain that we're separating out our lives into two compartments, personal and professional. That does not imply that we should not want to be the best version of ourselves, not only professionally, but also personally. We should want to be the best, version of ourselves, because all things work together for the good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. So you have a purpose, and that purpose is to be a professional, but we have to make it all work together for the good. So what I'm going to recommend to you is not only changing how you deal with your professional colleagues, but change the way you deal with people in your personal life. You can't have a bad attitude every time you're dealing with your family and friends just because you know they're going to say, but that's who they are. Because that's the problem. There's no growth. If you're the same person you were 20 years ago that you are today, that's a problem. And here's a news flash. Even if you've made some minor tweaks and changes so that you know who you're dealing with when you're talking to certain people, and you don't want to have to deal with their rebuttal, you still haven't changed. You have made some adjustments in your behavior, but you haven't made a change. And if we're going to become the best version of ourselves, that implies there has to be some change. There has to be a different method or a different methodology of doing things in your personal life. And then you can use some of those things in your professional life. Because just as you deal with people who are family and friends, you've learned their personalities, you know how to deal with them, you have to learn the personalities of your colleagues. Now you might say, well, I don't want to deal with them like that, but that's not realistic. Because you're going to have to deal with them at some point during the 8-hour day. or as I like to remind everyone, the 10-hour day, 5 days a week. You're going to have to deal with them at some point. Learn their personalities. Understand their personalities. Not because you don't have a right to be who you are, but you understand the toxicity that comes with not understanding who they are and how you're going to deal with them. You have to eliminate the toxic environment so that you can be more effective professionally. And we all have to learn that. There's going to be people in our lives that we're going to find it necessary to deal with, that we need to learn their personalities and understand who they are so that we know how to deal with them. Now, let me tell you what that looks like so that we can continue to move forward. There are people that you're going to have to learn to tune out. There are people that you're going to have to learn how to respond to them. Not because you're afraid of them, but you understand how you might respond if they step over the boundary. So you might need to learn to contain your response so that your response doesn't create a much larger problem. Now you might say, well, I'm stifling my own energy. Yeah, bottle that energy up because you'll need it for something else. And you don't want to waste it on them. There are some people who feel like they need to be in control at all times. You don't have to let them control you, but let them control whatever it is they think they can control. You might just find it necessary to refocus your thoughts and your actions in another area. Let them control whatever it is they think they can control. Because in most cases, if people who think they can control things all the time, they're usually going to make mistakes along the way. There's going to be some things that they're going to say, I wish I hadn't done that. But that's a consequence they have to live with. Don't allow anyone to frustrate you because you haven't learned how to deal with their personality. Now you might say, well, Pastor Pope, that's a lot of work. Life is work. Life is a lot of work. And if you want to have peace, you're going to have to learn to deal with both your internal customer and your external customer on a daily basis. You're going to have to learn how to adjust between your personal life and your professional life without losing your own peace of mind. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will place you into our queue so that you can become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest and fastest 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a monthly discount on your T-Mobile bill at America's largest nationwide 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you have no patience while your husband has the patience of a lion stalking his prey. I like the analogy, and I may have to use that one at some point in time. That's a really good analogy. However, you said his patience causes a lot of conflict in your marriage. And you want to know what can you do to motivate him to respond more rapidly. So, the question you have to ask yourself is, why do anything? Why do you feel the need to motivate him to respond more rapidly when he's obviously thoughtful. He's obviously searching for the best decision. You said he's got the patience of a lion stalking his prey, and anyone who's ever watched the animal kingdom, you know that when a lion is stalking his prey, he has patience because he knows the result. He already knows what the result is going to be. And what he's banking on or counting on is that there's going to be a good result. He's going to catch the prey. In your husband's case, he is very thoughtful and methodical in his process so that he can get the best result. What you should do, no matter how difficult it may be, and no matter how difficult it might have been throughout the years, what you should do right now is stop and look around at the quality of your life, and then lift your hands and give God all the praise. Because you have a great quality of life. And sometimes what happens is that the quality of life becomes so good that we start looking for problems. We start looking for disruption. We got to do something. We got to make something happen. The truth of the matter is something doesn't need to be happening every moment, every hour of the day, every week. Something doesn't need to be happening for you to have some sort of perceived success. The success is the bigger body of work. The success is we've got a great quality of life right now. The success is that you are in great health. You might have some family members that are not in great health right now that you're trying to I'll just tell you what God showed me in that secret place of your life. You're caring for an elderly parent. They may not be in great health, but you're in great health and God has given you strength. And what you've got to realize is that, first of all, you are two different people. You and your husband are two different people who respond to things two different ways. And at the end of the day, if you can lay down your head and say, we got everything done that needed to be done, not what you want to be done, but everything that needed to be done today, tomorrow's a new day. And that's where that patience comes in. The Bible tells us patience is a virtue. You know, you've got to recognize where you are right now. Lift your hands. Give God all the glory. Say, Father, I thank you for giving me the life I have right now and for what I'm expecting in the future. We don't want to become complacent. And you have to recognize that your husband's not being complacent. What you perceive as him being dormant or complacent, for lack of a better term, is him stalking his prey. It's him being methodical in the process of getting the next thing accomplished. A great result. And for all of our listeners and viewers, let me just pause and take a moment and say this. Let's all look around us right now. And if you have a great quality of life right now, everything else you can get done when God willing tomorrow comes. And the day after that, and the day after that. If you have a great quality of life, just lift your hands and say, God, I thank you. If you have a great quality of life right now, just lift your hands and give him all the praise. Because, but for the grace of God, so go I. There could be a whole lot of other things going on wrong in your life. And when I say wrong in your life, meaning you could be suffering from sickness or illness right now. None of that is happening in your life, except for our listener and viewer who's caring for an elderly parent. They have some family illness. But for all of our listeners and viewers, let's get our head right and our heart right. Let's make certain that we're looking around at where we are right now and thanking God for where we are right now. and then praising him for what's about to come. Because there's so much more ahead of you. And with health and strength, you'll be able to get to the place that God has purposed for all of our lives. So I just want to say to our listener and viewer, why do you need to do anything? Let your spouse stalk his prey. Let him determine. When I say let him do it, meaning don't get in the way. Don't complicate things. Because we don't need to complicate things. We need to focus on where we are and where we're going. And if we do that, we're going to maintain the great quality of life we have without disruption, and we're going to experience the fullness of God in all of our lives. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, check for their store hours. Stop in at their retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need. They have shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. And today only, you will be able to order and purchase 3 high-quality cotton shirts from Charles Tyrwhitt for $69. Yes, I said $69. I know you're used to going online and seeing shirts normally cost about $160, $120 to $160 from a specialty store such as Charles Tyrwhitt. You can order 3 high-quality cotton shirts today, which will end tonight. 3 for $39. Pardon me, for $69. That would be really a great sale. But I want you to order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. If you're not in any of those areas, they will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. And the White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York on 5th Avenue and at the Short Hills Mall in Short Hills, New Jersey. If you're in either of those areas, check for their store hours. Stop in at the retail store. They have everything that you could possibly need. Home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. If you're not in either of those areas, you can order from the White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you want to begin investing. However, you have only invested through your 401k and you want to know how and where do you begin. So, I want to thank you for tuning in. I know you're a relatively new viewer. You have heard me talk some about, planning and investing, and you've gone back and viewed some of the archives. So everyone has the opportunity to do that, of course, on our website or you can do that on Facebook. You can do it on YouTube now. On our app, every broadcast is archived for 365 days. The good news about YouTube is our broadcasts are now archived forever. So you can go back and view all of them. You'll hear me discuss investing. You'll hear me discuss, and remember, I'm not your financial advisor and I'm not your attorney, but you will hear me talk about investing. You'll hear me talk about trust. You'll hear me talk about estate planning. You'll hear me discuss all of those things because those are all issues of life. But here's the reality. There's 3 major components of investment that will allow you to begin to build wealth. And they are the stock market, real estate, and entrepreneurship. And the good news about the stock market is, even for yourself, at this point, I always say it's never too late unless you do nothing. But here's the reality. The stock market is something that you can open a private account and trade on the stock market yourself. You can buy companies so let me delve into this a little bit. One of the things that I always encourage people to do is to buy publicly traded shares in companies that are products that you use. So I'm not going to go into a lot of products because they're not my sponsors, but they're not our sponsors for the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. But I will use an example. So we use Comcast in our home and in our church. And we're Comcast shareholders. And the reason that you want to purchase shares in a company that you use the product is because every time you pay your bill, and every time someone else pays their bill, and every time another person pays their bill, your shareholder value ticks, meaning it increases ever so slightly, but over time, because there's a time value to money, over time, that market share, your shareholder value will increase significantly over time. So you want to buy and you want to hold. You're not in the business of short selling. You're not in the business of day trading. You are buying securities. If you're wearing Nike products, you need to own shares of Nike. That's a simple formula. If you own shares in any publicly traded company, if you shop at Target, you need Target stock. You need shares in Target because you're increasing your shareholder value. Money that you're spending on products, you're increasing your shareholder value every time you purchase that product or every time someone else purchases that product. If you're using Heinz ketchup for your when you barbecue outside, if you're using Heinz ketchup, you need to own stock in Kraft Heinz or Heinz Kraft. The reality is that when you are purchasing products, you should own shares in those publicly traded companies. That's just a simple form of stock ownership. Now, you can also own stock at a very early age. So your children, purchase stock for them. You can open up a custodial account for them. There are things you can do to start investing for them now, because over the long term, that investment's going to appreciate in value and it's going to pay off. Because when they sell it or when you sell it for them, you're only going to pay capital gains tax. You're not going to pay income tax. Capital gains tax is always less than income tax. So there's an advantage. That's how you want to begin the process of investing. And then the more you read and the more you research, you can look at other companies and decide if you want to invest in them, whether you're using their products or not. But if you know the masses are using the products, like pharmaceuticals, for example, or healthcare stocks, because everyone gets sick and everyone wants to be well. So there are ways that you can invest just by the things you do every day, making a decision to invest in products, goods and services that you use every single day. Then there's real estate. So the largest purchase you're ever going to make in a lifetime is to purchase real estate, because it has the largest cost. But real estate becomes just that, part of your real estate. You want to invest in real estate, you want to own property, because over time the property will appreciate. In a poor economy, the property is going to appreciate approximately 5%. In a good economy or a great economy, the property is going to appreciate approximately 10%. And that's just for residential. That has nothing to do with commercial. Well, it does, but your commercial is going to generate additional things like passive income. And there's a lot of components to this, but those three things, the last being entrepreneurship, owning a business. But we have to be sure we go into business for the right reason. And I've talked about that on previous broadcasts, so go back and view the archives. But I'm here to tell you today that those three things, the stock market, real estate, and entrepreneurship, are going to give you the opportunity to build wealth so that we can not only build wealth, that we can live and enjoy the quality of life long term until the Lord calls us home, but that we leave something that we leave an estate for the generations that come behind us. Whether it's children, grandchildren, and if God willing, we live long enough, great-grandchildren. Those three things are going to be your method for investing and building wealth.